Fools!
And all the rest of you.
Welcome to my secret lair!
Here there be monsters.
Welcome to Ginkgo's little house.
That's me.
Little
guy.
Little guy.
Yep.
Hey, today's a good day.
It is a really good day.
And if it hasn't been for you, it's about to become better.
It's true.
Because we're talking today about one of the two things, the only two things in Dungeons and Dragons.
It's absolutely true.
It's not the dungeons. What is it?
Dragons.
It's the dragons. Specifically, the Game Master's Book of Legendary Dragons. That's right.
I own that.
We have it.
That book.
This is where I display it on the screen. We have it in person. Rather than just looking shit up on the internet.
I know. I had to buy that book. I found it while looking for something entirely different at a Barnes & Noble. Walked in, was looking around. I went, oh, hey, they have D&D stuff here. Wouldn't it be fun? Walked back, looked at the actual D&D stuff, sanctioned material, and it being, $50. And I went, and then I found this. And it was less than that. So I bought it.
He came back and he was like, Sam, listen. Listen, Sam. We have got to talk about this. And he was totally right. After reading a little bit into it, we have got to talk about this.
Absolutely.
So we're absolutely going to do that. But before we do,
dropping shit out of my pockets.
You shit in your pockets?
I'm shit in my pockets.
Oh my God.
Sorry. Before we do,
we have a couple additions, as we do every week now, to Summon Greater Soundtrack.
The one that I pulled up today is a cover, because covers are fun. It is a cover of What a Wonderful World, but it is by Two-Way. That is 2WEI. This is an artist band. I don't know what the exact affiliation there is, but this is an entity that does like extremely dramatic cinematic covers of popular songs, and I love it.
Okay, these folks are German.
Ooh.
I would venture a guess that the name of this duo
probably Zwei
is Zwei. Yeah,
that makes so much more sense, and that's so creative, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's so much more context, and I'm so happy now. Sick. Anyway, What a Wonderful World by Zwei, probably with the number 2 instead of Z. It is a very building song, and it's kind of haunting. What I envisioned for this song is essentially like the party is confronting like mad scientist BBEG or cult fanatic BBEG, some kind of enemy that is like obsessed to the point of delusion with this idea of like making the world better, but doing so in a way that actually really fucks things up. Like, I'm imagining they're on this monologue, the BBG is on this monologue of like saving the world. We have to let it evolve. We have to let it grow, become what it's supposed to be. And then this like Venom-esque monstrosity like comes up and like takes over this NPC as they're like confronting them, and it turns into this combat where like now this BBEG is like, don't fight this, please, this is the next step, this is how we move on, how we become better. And then they just erupt into this like horrific monstrosity and just start tearing things asunder as this other being that has been like feeding this person maybe lies, maybe partial truths, suddenly is now in control and taking over everything. and it is very, very cinematic. The beginning of it starts really soft, really slow, and it builds into the like combat aesthetic that we've come to enjoy from very loud cinematic songs.
Mhm.
So that's my addition for
That
today.
sounds right up our alley, dude.
Hell yeah. What was the name of yours?
It was IRA, by Ivory Erasmus. I imagine several different scenarios to this on the regular. Two of the most prominent, I suppose, being a character coming into contact with a new power of some sort. And then the second part of this song where it gets really intense, being them learning to or discovering that they can't quite control it yet.
Oh, that's
You
a
get
good
me?
one. Yeah.
Or a mystery that has taken several sessions finally being solved. And then suddenly being confronted by the people who have been following you, hoping you solve it. Sort of akin, if you've played Ocarina of Time, to the moment where you gather the 3 sacred stones as a child and then break the seal of the sacred realm and grab the Master Sword as Ganondorf follows you in.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. As always, take a look at the soundtrack, the Summon Greater soundtrack playlist that we have crafted. Please let us know what you think about it. Let us know if you have suggestions to add to it, because we are always looking to add to our musical repertoire.
Yes. We have ever growing and expanding D&D playlists.
Oh,
We will
always.
never reach the bottom of them truly. There will always be more.
Mhm.
And that can
Especially
only
the
be-
character playlists. You get to the ones where you have like 60, 70 songs on there.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is never going to come up, but it makes me happy.
Mhm.
With the soundtrack out of the way,
You've got a bedtime story to read me.
I've got a bedtime story.
Let's crack open this book. Yeah.
Once upon a time, there was a really fucking scary dragon.
A whole lot of them, actually.
It's true. The one I want to tell you about, because the first 80% of this book is just stat blocks and lore and tactics for insane legendary dragons.
Mhm.
Like, I think the lowest challenge rating of the dragons in here is 20. Like, that's we're talking like insane dragons.
It's a CR of mine. So I feel like it couldn't have been that high. You're right.
They're very strong. Very, very strong. Today, I have for you, since we're not going to go over all of the dragons in this book, for one, it would take so much time. For two, go buy the book. Anyway.
Definitely buy the book.
Yeah, absolutely. I have today, I think probably my favorite one in this whole book, Vanadon Necroth, the Scaled Book of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so badass. Right off the bat.
I got to remind myself to show the image because he looks sick as hell.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll get a picture on it here-ish.
I'm doing it. I promise.
You're great, Sam. We love you. Anyway.
Give us your best dramatic reading.
It's
here.
too good. All right. Settle in, children. Get your books, get your hot chocolate. In ancient times, the dragon scribe Vanadon served the goddess of the dead and protected her endless Book of the Dead, a massive tome which, thanks to his diligence, bore the names and final words of all creatures who have ever died, and who will ever die. Vanadon served his goddess dutifully for centuries, but even the servants of the Dark Lady of Death are mortal, and their lives end in time. Unwilling to face the end, Vanadon simply refused to perish. He consumed the endless Book of the Dead and took its power into his own body, transforming himself into the living Book of the Dead. The Queen of Death, furious at her rebellious servant, banished Vanadon from her domain, and he hid in shameful isolation for several centuries in a forgotten corner of Elysium, the hallowed fields of the honored dead. Throughout this time, the names and last words of the dead inscribed themselves upon his milky white scales. When he emerged, with scales covered in endlessly shifting patterns of black scrawling, he became known as Vanadon Nekroth, the Scaled Book of the Dead. Despite the fury of the Queen of the Dead, Vanadon Nekroth built his lair atop a hill in the Gardens of Elysium and became beloved by the Undying Garden's heroic inhabitants as a keeper of the memories of the dead. Though the lore master Vanadon once kept his library open to all creatures, he has grown paranoid in recent centuries. His archive lair was once a majestic castle that towered over the eternal Gardens of Elysium, but no more than 5 decades past, Vanadon Nekroth transported his entire archive lair elsewhere in the plains, leaving only the crumbling, gutted structure of his once magnificent castle in its wake. The charms that keep Vanadon Nekroth eternally alive also grant him the power of perfect recollection, and all information he adds to his infallible intellect is instantly inscribed upon his ivory scales. Now, the archives of the dead drift on the waves of the endless astral plane, tethered to the bones of a dead god of memory. Badass. Whose name is forgotten to all but Vanadon Nekroth himself. Within this arcane fortress, Vanadon Nekroth stores and maintains all of the physical tomes and scrolls he collected in his many centuries of life, and has since inscribed the details of countless spells from all disciplines of magic upon his scales. Though he no longer needs physical records of his accrued knowledge, he takes pleasure in reading and rereading his favorite scrolls.
You're pretty metal, dude.
He's pretty metal. That's one of my favorite dating profiles on the dragon book that we have here today.
What?
It's the very end of it is just like, it reads like, enjoys long walks on the beach.
Kind of.
But oh my god, I love it so much. There's so much you can do with this. And let's be honest, every single D&D campaign has a god or goddess of the dead. This is such an easy drop into any campaign. Like, you just copy paste, put it in there, replace Lady of the Dead with whatever your god of the dead's name is, and it's in. Vanadon's in there.
That's a really great point. And it's like it's a full reinvention of the concept.
Yeah, and it's fascinating too. There's an idea that's been floating around D&D circles for a while that I've always loved, and I've brought up to several of my friends, of the wizard whose spell book is tattooed on their body. Instead of like having an actual physical book, they have the tattoos. They have all their spells like on their person as tattoos. I think that's fucking metal and so cool. And this is just the dragon version of it, which takes it to the nth degree and makes it even more metal and badass.
It's a much higher caliber.
Yeah. So I'm not going to read you all of the tactics and like little details that are included in this next segment here, but there is an adventure hook provided for you. There is also an encounter guide provided for you for Vanadon. What I do want to briefly touch on is there's a section in here entitled Tactics. My favorite part of this book is that along with the stat block for each of these dragons, it also tells you how to play them. which is above and beyond, goes the extra mile, and it brings so much life. I wish we had something like this for every single creature in the monster manual. Everything in the DM.
Or at the very least, every sentient creature.
Yeah, like all the legendary ones.
They really should give you some idea more often than not of how to play your sentient monsters as NPCs.
Yeah.
You know, that's effectively what this is doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because this is fascinating. When I look at Vanadon's stat block, Vanadon is a 20th level spellcaster. Vanadon can cast spells in addition to just being a fucking dragon, which is also terrifying, and being a 20th level spellcaster, even more terrifying. His 9th level spells are Time Stop and Wish. I mean, that's terrifying.
Messy.
And that leaves a lot of open holes because you can do so many things with those two spells. In the tactics section, tongue twister. It specifically says Vanadon values his own survival over all other things. While his hoard of priceless and irreplaceable treasures means the world to him, all the knowledge he has ever gleaned from them live within his mind and written on his scales. Those things cannot be replaced. So, Vanadon uses Time Stop or Wish as soon as possible to prevent harm from befalling him. While using Time Stop, Vanadon Nekroth has up to 5 turns to act with impunity. He tends to first create a force cage around one dangerous target. Then, he casts greater invisibility on himself. Then, after making any other final preparations, he casts Prismatic Spray upon as many of the intruders as possible. From here, he uses his invisibility and powers of flight to stay as far away from his enemies as possible while still raining death down upon them. It's so good.
That's insane, man.
It's so good.
It's a very clear... I love that it gives a very clear strategy.
Mm-hmm. And like even just from those couple paragraphs, I now know exactly who Vanadon is. I know exactly what his motivations are, what he wants, why he's doing the things he's doing. Like, there's so much that you learn from the tactics side of thing, and it really breathes so much more life into the stat.
It's important to have the mechanics and resources of this monster characterize it, I think, because if you are just given those spells in the stat block with the appropriate amount of spell slots, you as a DM could make use of these in probably a much more efficient and damaging manner. You know, like, honestly, if you took like the first turn to Time Stop and just beat the shit out of the party for like 4 turns and took the 5th to get some distance and cast invisibility, you know, like that would be busted and probably overpowered. And it is logically something that you should, do as the DM, but that's not what Vanadon would necessarily do.
Right. Well, the one thing that I will say that does kind of limit the Time Stop thing, while you're in Time Stop, if you cast something that deals direct damage, like something that like targets somebody, I'm pretty sure it stops it. I'd have to look that up.
I didn't say nothing about spells.
I mean, you're right. Let me look up Time Stop.
I mean, how long could it possibly take just to eat everyone, you know?
The spell ends if one of the actions you use during this period or any effects that you create during this period affects a creature other than you or an object being worn or carried by someone other than you. Okay.
Damn.
So technically you cannot like specifically...
Okay, you can't beat the shit out of people.
So then the other thing that I was looking at was Prismatic Spray, because... this is the best workaround I've ever seen. Prismatic spray does not affect anyone other than you. 8 rays of light flash from you in a 60-foot cone. Each creature in the cone makes a dexterity saving throw for each target. Roll 1d8 to figure out which color ray affects it.
How is this
on the
work
table.
around?
Because you're not targeting anything. You are not directly affecting them. You are emitting light.
Are you sure that's not directly affecting?
The way it's worded, 8 rays of light flash from you in a 60-foot cone. I guess it might still.
I mean, if you replace, I think you're a little bit lost in the semantics here. Like if you replace 8 rays of light flash from you with like a stream of fire emits from you, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're doing the damage. Let's be so serious.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, if you order things properly and you do prismatic spray at the very end, you've already finished up prepping yourself with whatever you need. No, you cannot sit in time stop and beat the shit out of people for 5 turns straight. But
shows that I've never gotten to use time stop.
Neither have I. Who's excited about it? No.
That's because every DM that we play for, including ourselves, is terrified of giving anyone that kind of power.
Oh God, seriously, especially ourselves.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing I was gonna say. Giving legendary creatures and like higher intelligence enemies like a specific tactic also makes it easier for your party to not necessarily avoid combat with them, but find a way out of, or find a way to placate them. Because like if you know what that creature, monster, whatever is trying to do or wants, then like you have a pattern that your players can recognize and their characters can go, oh, this thing's not necessarily seeking to just wipe us from the face of the earth. That's self-preservation. That's, I have something I'm protecting. That's whatever.
I'm also thinking about the bookworm of the party, the L, if you will.
The L of it all.
Yeah. Who takes it upon themselves to seek out information about the big bad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This incredible threat they're going to face, and finds some sort of thread of shared experiences from survivors or bystanders.
Mm-hmm. And the other fascinating thing, specifically for the L of it, part of the wealth that you would get from either killing Vanadon or gaining their favor, having conversation. There is a wealth section on here that will also list like what the dragon's hordes are. In this case, Vanadon Necroth's entire wealth is made up of like historical pieces. Makes sense. However, the true reward is the knowledge contained on his scales. A creature that studies Vanadon Necroth's scales finds that they are milky white but covered with black text like pages of a book. A creature can find any spell on Vanadon Necroth's scales by spending an hour in study and making a successful intelligence investigation check with a DC equal to 10 plus the level of the spell the creature is searching for.
Wow. All right.
So if you have the time, if you either kill Vanadon or befriend Vanadon, and you have the time, you can fill an entire wizard spell book just through study.
Oh, that's a pretty damn good reward for this kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's so thematic. It's so fitting. Oh my God, you guys need to get this book. This is just one of like 20 dragons that are in here, and they're all this thought out.
Honestly, I'm the kind of crazy that would create some kind of randomized table to where if they fail, I can be like, no, but you do find this spell.
Oh yeah, seriously. Or like other random information that could potentially lead them into plot points.
Yes.
This is the ultimate plot armor for you as a DM. Is you anything that you're like, damn, they missed this one clue that I had in this one town. Now it's on Vanadon scales. He knows it. The other thing I was thinking is how fucking metal would it be to like add this into the tactics or something? If someone is studying Vanadon scales for information, have them make like a saving throw, like a wisdom saving throw or something like that. And if they fail, instead of finding information, they start finding the final words of people they know.
Oh my God. What the hell?
Like, you are learning. You are learning. But like, can you imagine that moment where like you as a DM shoot a text to like one of your players and are like, hey, what do you think your character's final words could be or would be if they had that moment? And obviously that's going to take a lot of thought and that's going to be fucking mortally wounding for their psyche. But they come back and they tell this to you and you get to tell this other player, you find these words, blah, 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 with this name attached to them. Now that person is going through the rest of the campaign waiting with bated breath to hear those words and try and figure out when the supposed last moment of their friend is going to be. Like, there's a lot of fuckery that you can do with this.
Yeah.
The implications here are just endless. Like, it's so good. And I could talk about Vanadon for hours, but I'm not going to monopolize more of your time with him because we have another one.
This is a really good pick.
Thank you. I was very excited.
All right. I'm talking about someone less serious, but very, very funny. This is Glitz, the rapscallion.
Ooh, rapscallion.
The true origins of Glitz the rapscallion, purveyor of ale, have been shrouded by time. The most recently recorded tale takes place outside small farming villages, several miles south of an extensive mountain range. On this hot summer day, a young elven girl witnessed a massive bronze dragon land on a large rock formation overlooking her farm. However menacing he was, the girl was not frightened. She moved towards this magnificent wonder, and as she did so, the bronze dragon bowed his head approvingly toward her. Then, with a mighty beat of his wings, he flew off into the sky, disappearing into the clouds above the mountains. Excited by the encounter, the young farm girl returned home to share her story. The tale of the bronze dragon became one of prophecy and good omen. The young elven farm girl named him Glitz. Over the next several decades, the village grew more prosperous as people from all over the region flocked to this small village due to the rumors of its prosperity. The temperate climate and regular flooding of the nearby river created extremely fertile farmland and provided an endless supply of fish. Business owners experienced increased profits. Investors, scholars, sages, and arcane masters were able to learn and develop new and wondrous creations, adding wealth to the beautiful community. The village transformed into a bustling metropolis. Regional conditions remained the same while the general well-being and prosperity of the people never diminished. The cause of this phenomenon perplexed scholars, sages, and arcanists alike. Their attempt at figuring out this strange regional occurrence became a driving factor for the community's growth, and their research also led to increases in their magical abilities. The investigators concluded that this region of the world was the apex of a randomly occurring conflux of arcane energy. As time passed, the community enjoyed its seemingly unending prosperity. All the while beneath the city, a strange, exuberant, and hardworking dragon remained the unknown reason for all of this wonder. Occasionally, Glitz would take on the form of different humanoid creatures to check in on the world above. He enjoyed mingling with the denizens of the community, and they held a special place in his heart. These mortals provided centuries of personal fulfillment for Glitz, and he came to view them all as his children. At some point, Glitz became enamored with the various types of drinks created by these mortals, especially ale.
Hell yeah.
His curiosity turned into an obsession, which finally became his master craft. Late one night during early winter, while enjoying an ale in one of his disguises at a local tavern, a beautiful elven woman named Varalyn strolled into his life. Enthralled by her beauty, Glitz found himself pulled into conversation with her for several hours. Var Allen told him of a tale from her childhood about a bronze dragon that had perched on a nearby rock formation overlooking her farm. From this moment on, their relationship developed into something more. For a long time, Glitz kept his true nature secret, never allowing Var Allen to discover who he truly was. Finally, one day, overcome with a sense of guilt, Glitz showed her his brewery, using the opportunity to reveal his true self. Like the little girl from all those years ago, Var Allen, unafraid, showed Glitz compassion, love, and friendship. From this moment forward, they began their business and unique relationship. Glitz now had two loves in his life, Var Allen and brewing ale. In time, Var Allen became responsible for most of their business transactions within the city. They began by purchasing land for crops to support ingredients for ales, wines, and liquors. Eventually, they decided to open an inn and tavern. They named it the Dragon's Inn. Here, they could focus their energy and use it as the hub for all their other business ventures. With multiple businesses scattered throughout the city, Glitz and Var Allen decided to create a business council that would properly watch over each aspect of their operation, which is currently still running smoothly to this day.
I fucking love him. He's incredible.
This is very silly.
Oh my God. That's such a funny one, but like also just wholesome.
Yeah.
Like it's so good.
Yeah. This is a very interesting entry into this book because a lot of what's going on in our description here is just it's more world building than anything. Like this describes a community that is tied to this dragon. Especially when you get into Glitz's businesses here. You've got the Brewers Guild, which is like an organization of shopkeepers and merchants and stuff. You got the Brewers Festival that is thrown in the town every year. The Dragon Inn and Tavern, as mentioned before. Mm-hmm. You've got a farm. You've got Corlin's Hops and Barley, which is a brewery and bakery. I love myself a dragon who just wants to live,
the concept of just an obsessed alcoholic dragon is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
But not like the detrimental alcoholic. This is the one that's like, this is my favorite thing and I'm going to share it with the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so funny and I love it so much.
I also love a dragon with a favorite person.
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of great. The relationship is, something else, but not beyond what, folks who play D&D are a little bit used to, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are into that shit.
I mean, everyone's fucked a dragon in their life, right?
Some more than others.
Some more than others.
I'm not going to point a single finger. Not one.
Yeah. Was that 2?
Still less than the number of dragons you fucked in a campaign.
Oh, dear God.
No, we all wanted to. It's fine. You just beat us to it.
And then I made it my entire personality.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't? Oh my God. Can you imagine being an adventurer and like walking into a pub and just like introducing yourself like, hey, my name's John. I fucked 6 dragons. Like, everyone just be like, oh my God.
So there's a couple of different hooks that it gives you to introduce this dragon into your campaign. One of them is competing interests where there is conflict with Corlin's Hops and Barley. And you meet these 2 individuals by interacting with them. Or worse, Var Allen has been abducted.
Oh, shit.
And you got to get her back.
The damsel in distress. Mm-hmm. But this time you got to rescue her for the dragon, not from a dragon.
Yep. What a twist, right?
Whoa.
I like the thought that maybe Glitz still ventures out as in disguise as a person every now and then. And so maybe the first several times you encounter this guy, he's just like some wealthy socialite.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then when you learn that he's a dragon, it's like, oh, of course.
Right? It's like, oh yeah, you run all this? That makes sense.
Here's how an encounter would go. Glitz and his friends are meant to be sociable individuals within your campaign. However, this doesn't mean that your players can't infiltrate or conduct nefarious deeds in Glitz's lairs or businesses. Glitz is a good aligned dragon with some unpredictable tendencies. He's got many ties to the world above, his businesses, the woman of his dreams, and the general well-being of the community. These attachments open up many opportunities for adventure, and each of Glitz's businesses details an NPC that can be utilized as a quest giver to further a story within your campaign setting.
That's actually a really cool idea. Just having Glitz be like a guild master, just like hanging out.
Or get a little bit more crafty and sinister with it, as Glitz does. He is still a dragon, after all.
It's very true.
If Glitz knows that he's going to be attacked or raided, he begins combat polymorphed as a young dwarven child who is cleaning the brewery.
Oh my god.
Or he will act like a scared elderly man and pretend to be hiding, yet visible to those entering his lair.
That's diabolical.
Once combat begins, Glitz will use his aura of overwhelming magnificence, followed up by a spell or multi-attack on the weakest looking combatant. Glitz is no fool. He understands spellcasters and the differences between armored foes.
This is insane.
Glitz's lair is filled with many tools and weapons used to create potions, ales, etc. An adventurer can find multiple tool sets for brewers, blacksmiths, and even thieves. In addition to the tools, his lair has a vast wealth of platinum, gold, silver, and copper. There are also gems of varying worth scattered throughout. Glitz has a ring of spell storing, a rod of absorption, and a wand of fireballs on him.
Shit.
I don't know quite how he uses it. Well, he would use them as a human, I suppose. His lair also has the following magical items: a suit of mithril armor, a pearl of power, and a movable rod, and a robe of useful items.
Damn. That's a haul.
When you are role-playing Glitz, he may take the form of any metallic-type dragon. However, he's chosen the bronze dragon form for centuries. He's very fond of it in part because it hides some of his noticeable girth. He's kind of a big dude.
He's a thick boy.
I mean, he's drinking ale all the time. Like, he's got
dragon with a beer belly.
Yeah. He's taken on many forms throughout his life. However, he's cultivated several humanoid personas throughout that time. And it gives a few examples of some very compelling NPCs you might run across. Let me pick just a couple here. Dorn Stronghammer. Here's the elderly dwarf I was talking about before. Slightly shorter than average and rounder at the waist. His bald head gleams with sweat, and a long braided salt and pepper beard hangs over his plump belly. His bruising blue eyes suggest a young, intelligent mind lurks beneath his aging features. Or this guy, you know what? This dragon is just a D&D player. He's doing the role playing in his own town. Yeah.
That's so funny.
This is meta.
That's so funny.
He plays an old dwarf. He plays a young halfling, a young elf girl who's like athletic and bred for combat, you know.
Glitz is just the ultimate DM NPC.
Yes.
It's a self-insert. You got the hot elven girl. You're a dragon. You can be whoever you want to be. This is so funny.
Yeah.
I like how much more lighthearted Glitz is.
It's very lighthearted, yeah. Also, it goes into detail on the regional effects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I mentioned earlier how, somehow good was being provided for the town as if by magic, right? No one could really figure out how. Well, obviously, it's Glitz. So here's a few things that happen within the region. Farmers within 10 miles of the lair receive double the average crop yields.
Damn.
Yep. Vendors who sell locally grown fruits and vegetables receive 25% more revenue compared to other towns. Citizens who reside within 10 miles, of the lair for more than a week live 2d6 years longer than if living in comparable lands, and also benefit from a +1 bonus to their charisma and constitution stats.
Oh my God.
What? provided they stay within 10 miles of Glitz's lair.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like the fucking god of halflings.
You're so right, dude.
Right?
Yeah.
This guy's just like, guys.
Something like this is surely living under the Shire.
Seriously. Like, it's just this entity that's like, guys, you know what? What's the fucking greatest thing of all time? Alcohol. And they're like, yeah. He's like, okay, you know what else would be really good? All of our shit's worth more money. And they're like, yeah, okay. And we're all better at partying. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Mm-hmm. They're all good ones, man. Like, the book is just so fucking good.
Yeah.
Again, this is 2 of many.
Yeah, there are, we could count them all up, probably. There's like, I would call that about 25 or so.
Yeah, it looks like it. And that's not the only thing that the book has either. It doesn't have just stats and personality quizzes for all the different dragons. It also tells you how to play D&D in a world full of dragons. It also
26.
talks about, like other things that you might experience in a world with many, many dragons. There's a little sleepy doggo on our floor. He's sleepy. We set up blankets for him in the hall outside this room because he loves sleeping on blankets.
I don't know why he's not using them.
And he has chosen not to. He's in here on the floor because he's a lonely old man.
He has been very clingy.
A realm of dragons. What happens with all these legendary dragons about? Well, inevitably, some people kill dragons. Some people hunt them. I know what you're thinking. How dare they? Dragons are the best.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anyone do this? They're such incredible, valiant, peace-loving creatures that have done no wrong.
Sometimes.
And can do no wrong. Because they're the best. But what happens when you hunt dragons? What do you do with them? When you've killed a dragon, what do you do with it? This book has Dragon Parts Economy.
Mm-hmm. You sell that shit.
Mm-hmm.
On the black market, mind you.
Oh, yeah.
This shit's illegal.
Under the table. Well, unless you're in a place where it's not illegal.
Yeah. At least in the world of the book, it's frowned upon and illegal.
Yeah. But like this, if you don't want to go through the several hundred, many dozen page long conversion from D&D to Monster Hunter.
That's effectively how it is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of a little taste of Monster Hunter sprinkled into your D&D campaign. It gives you like trackable weights and sizes for the different sizes of dragons. Like a wormling dragon is between 4 and 8 feet long, weighs between 20 and 40 pounds. Totally thought they would have been heavier than that. They're some little bird-boned motherfuckers. Young dragon, 16 feet to 30 feet, 320 to 2,000 pounds. Now we're getting up there. An adult dragon, 30 to 55 feet long, 2,000 to 20,000 pounds. An ancient dragon, 55 to 85 feet long, weighing anywhere between 20 and 160,000 pounds. That's not all, folks. There's also the great worms, which are between 85 and 120 feet long, weighing between 160,000 and 1,250,000 pounds.
What? That's too big.
That's the size of like a skyscraper.
I suppose.
Like that is a large hill, a small mountain, if you will. Mm-hmm. But anyway, aside from just the sizes, this book also has tables of what parts you can get from dragons that you can scavenge from them.
It's everything, by the way.
It's
every part.
Yeah, all of it. You don't waste your dragon, folks. Wormling blood, wormling claws, wormling. Hold on. Pronouncing this.
What are you looking at?
Draconis fundamentum.
Oh.
What is that? What is a Draconis fundamentum? An organ found only inside dragons relating to the dragon's breath weapon. The Draconis fundamentum is a gland that helps metabolize and transform whatever the dragons eat into fuel for its breath weapon.
Well, that's probably pretty valuable.
That's pretty cool. I didn't even think about that being something that exists inside a dragon. So there we go. Dragon analogy lesson for me today.
It is pretty valuable. That's worth 1,500 gold.
1,500?
Look at it.
Jeebus.
1,500.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, you can get their eggs, their eyes, their gizzards, hearts, horns, bones, livers, scales, skull, tooth, tongue, wings. And these all increase in value, obviously, with how old the dragon was. Wormling, young dragon, adult dragon, ancient dragon, blah, 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 all the way up to great worm. And it also includes how much each of those parts weigh. Like an ancient dragon's wings weigh 1,000 pounds. This makes sense. Absolutely insane, though.
This is a whole lot of information.
Yeah. Like, I would legitimately study this and, like, put all of this into a document for my campaign so I can reference it on the fly.
I mean, the beauty of this is that, like, dragons exist in most D&D campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
You can supplement with as much of this information as you want, or as little.
Right. You don't necessarily need to use the vast library of insanely broken legendary dragons in this book to make use of dragon parts.
Granted, you might be wondering why would I even need all this? Well, you might want to use it for something if you're not straight up selling it. And that something is enhancing your spells.
Yeah, this is insane.
This is where this gets fun, okay? Every spell in D&D can be enhanced in some kind of way by adding dragon parts. Let me give you some examples. Oh, I was,
and obviously this is using original 5th edition versions of the spells is what it's specifically referencing, because this book came out before D&D 2024, but fairly easy to make similar, if not the same, changes to the updated spells.
So when you cast astral projection, typically, your body is connected to the astral plane by a silver cord, which can be, that can be messed with. It can be manipulated. It can be damaged. If you add 4 silver dragon scales, pricey, but if you add those to the casting materials for astral projection, that silver cord becomes immune to damage.
That's insane. Because that's like one of the only ways to truly fuck with an astral projection is to cut the cord.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like you've been severed from your body. I don't even remember what the exact effect is of having the cord cut, but it's not great. Causes issues. As long as the tether remains intact, you can find your way home. If the cord is cut, your soul and body are separated, killing you instantly.
Okay. You die.
Anywho, silver dragon scales.
Yeah, not everything is, that crazy. Mostly because not everything's a 9th level spell, right?
Yeah, right. That's the thing. It scales exponentially with the level of the spell being used.
Yeah. For example, create or destroy water. If you add a portion of a dragon heart to the spell components, you gain an additional 10 gallons of water to the spell. There's a whole lot of spells, but not all of them.
Goodberry. Please tell me there's Goodberry.
If you add 2 dragon scales of any kind, it seems, you add additional an additional 1d6 berries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I like that.
Would you like to hear about Moonbeam?
I was literally just going to ask you about Moonbeam. I saw that. And
So a lot of these are just adding damage. This is no exception. If you add metallic dragon scales, doesn't say how many, it probably should, you add an additional 1d10 of radiant damage.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it could be neat just to consider this process, of harvesting a dragon and then using its parts and spells if you have a spellcaster on your squad at all.
Mm-hmm. Another one that I just spotted that's actually really interesting is Teleportation Circle.
Oh, yeah. This one's my favorite.
12 ounces of dragon bone dust. Casting the spell with dragon bone dust every day decreases the time required to make the spell permanent by half. That's a really good example of like a non-damage boosting effect.
But that's something that could be, essential narratively.
Yeah, especially if you're playing a really long-term campaign.
Yeah. Or like, if you're in a time of war, perhaps, this is such a good choice that this scenario presents. You're trying to protect a city and they ask you to build a teleportation circle over the course of the next couple of weeks so that they can get reinforcements. Perhaps you have the option of making that come to fruition faster by going and killing the dragon 2 days west.
Yeah, or presents a very, very interesting plot hook for a party in the midst of a said war or whatever. There is a notice on the job board. Hey, local guardsmen, local military, whatever, will pay adventurers to go bring back dragon bones so that we can set up this supply line.
Yeah, it would have to be time sensitive for sure, but I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Super cool. So much you can do with all that. That is nowhere near everything that is in the book.
Yeah.
We will be coming back to this in probably the next episode or two, because there's a whole new class.
There is a whole new class.
A whole new race. A handful of fun new magic items and cults and other shit. We're not done. I'm so excited. There's also some like pre-made one-shots in this book that you can use. We're not going to go through the one-shots here because buy the book, but I'm so excited. There's so much more.
And we get to come back and do it again.
Have you seen all the How to Train Your Dragon movies?
I have.
Okay,
I have
good,
indeed.
Good. Because I was going to suggest that you do before we get into the weeds in the coming episodes.
Oh, yeah. No, I want to watch them again anyway.
Yeah.
And Sophia has only seen the first one.
Yeah, that is reason enough.
I know. Seriously. Like, I'm tempted to watch the second one like tonight.
Honestly, we need to maybe it's a group movie night that needs to happen because I don't think Aaron and Bailey have seen the other ones either.
I feel like they have.
Have they?
I feel like they have. But
we'll have to ask.
We can still have a group movie night.
That is, you know what? There's no reason not to do that.
We'll definitely watch those movies and come back with more dragons. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, whatever all the buttons do on whatever platform you are checking us out on. Please do that. And thanks so much for watching Summer Great Podcast.
We'll see you next time. Get excited for more dragons.